how did two nobodies, two random brothers from North Carolina with no Hollywood pedigree, with no industry connections, end up creating the most popular show in the world? What can we learn from how they pulled off that win? In this video, I'm going to unpack how the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things, came up with the pitch that convinced Netflix to back them and led to the most popular show in the world. Let's dive in. The Duffer Brothers came up with three elements for their pitch. Two elements that were media, that required some sustained attention to really absorb, and then one that was short and sweet, making it easy to spread. The first element is the sizzle reel. A sizzle reel is a pretty common part of Hollywood and television pitching, where you come up with a highlight reel, some clips and excerpts from other television shows and other movies and other properties from Hollywood. So in their case, they took clips from E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Stephen King's It. By doing so, what they're doing is signaling who their influences and inspirations were and the general tone of what they're going for. It lets you know that it's about kids, it's set in a vintage, kind of older 80s time frame, and that there's elements of horror and the supernatural to it. The next element was a pitch Bible. And the pitch Bible is a longer form document that they use to put together the mythology of this particular show. It introduced key themes, core characters, but the point of this is to show that they have thought this through and that they have the density ready to build something longer should it turn out that the first season is really successful. But both these elements thus far requires people to pay attention. And what they're dealing with at this stage in the game, because they have no clout, is low-level executives. They're dealing with the executives at Netflix and other places that don't have decision-making power. So they needed to make something that was sticky and memorable so that when these low-level executives went and talked to the actual decision makers, they were properly equipped to do so. And the actual decision makers, they don't necessarily care about a sizzle reel or a pitch Bible. They don't want to read those things. So what the Duffer Brothers did was come up with a simple two-word pitch. In their case, it was supernatural kidnapping. Their logic was that if these low-level executives can't remember anything about the pitch Bible or anything else, or they can't forward that on, what they can convey is supernatural kidnapping. These two words are economical, unique in that there's not other content being made like this at the time, and it's signaling what the show is about. They knew that there was no way the low-level executives going to their bosses were going to screw up the two-word phrase, supernatural kidnapping. So those are the three elements that made the Stranger Things pitch work. How does this apply to us? Well, it means that we need to think about what we're building in depth. We need to think it through. We need to understand the complexity of what it is. Whether it's a startup idea, whether it's a project, whether it's some art, doesn't really matter. What's important is that as we are asking other people to support it, the stickiness, being able to distill it down to a simple phrase, and ideally something very short like the two-word phrase that the Duffer Brothers did. If you can do that, you've got a better chance of your idea spreading and eventually finding the supporters that it needs to make it real. Good luck on your own pitches.